Hello, welcome to the another episode of Why Are We Even Talking About This? I am your host Stefan, and today we have guests Kithole and Logan. Hello.
Hey,
Can you guys introduce yourselves?
How are you?
I'm Logan.
And I'm Kathali.
Thanks for joining me today.
No problem.
So
Thanks for having me.
I am. It's a pleasure to be here.
today we're gonna talk about sustainable checklist. It's like gonna go down with what if we open a restaurant and if we want to keep it sustainable, what we're going to do. So, Kithole and Logan, what is sustainability in your own definition?
I guess I would define sustainability as like the longevity of a business, how long you can keep it running,
Right.
type thing.
And
And
yeah, go ahead.
for me, I would say sustainability is like how well something can keep itself in motion. So like if you were running a business, how well can the business like manage itself and create its own product so that it can stay open longer?
Right, I totally agree with you. Sustainability, in my definition, I would say it's about managing my own businesses with all the community and like environment. So it's really important to connect those because I'm not going to make any money if no one's buying from me. So I want to make sure I have a good connection with people. So when we're talking about sustainability in a perspective of chefs and kitchen, we usually have this concept of 4P going for planet, people, profit, and policy. And there's also three pillars of sustainability includes social, economics, and environment. So, if do you have any questions about that, or any thoughts? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
I was expecting Kathali to talk first that time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, I don't really have any questions. It sounds pretty
Yeah,
self-explanatory
sounds-
about.
Yeah.
Guys, so let's say we're gonna open a restaurant as if we're best friends. So there's there's two things I cannot live without, which is one, coffee, and two, alcohol.
Of course.
But I'm not ready to open a liquor store, so let's say we can open a cafe, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like we can
Yep.
sell like coffee, sandwiches, breakfast, brunch, soup, omelet.
So we're basically making a Starbucks.
Well, yeah, but a restaurant style Starbucks.
Yeah.
And, like-
yeah.
But it's all going to be sustainable.
Right, that's the
which
point. So,
I think Starbucks is pretty sustainable.
anything you want to add to that? Any like ideas of what are we going to do if we open a kitchen?
I mean, so sandwiches,
Mhm.
hot or cold?
I think we can do both.
Okay.
I mean, is there any?
And
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
it more like,
Go ahead.
is it more sub-like sandwiches? I guess this isn't really important, is it?
I mean, we can talk about it. It's a podcast. We just talk. It's not a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. I get the point. I get it. So we have to make a mission statement for our restaurant, and I came up with a really rough draft of it. So if you may, I'll read it. So we will take care of this community and the planet. You only have to pay. So, any improvement you can bring into it?
Kathala, you got any thoughts?
I like the part about community and planet because I feel like a large part of the restaurant environment is the atmosphere,
Mhm.
and a good community atmosphere will bring in a lot of people, and that's how you get regulars, and that's how you get good business, and that's how you like spread your business and brand
Right.
through like word of mouth and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like word of mouth is a big thing, especially for like coffee shops.
Right. Right. Thanks for your opinion.
And-
Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you.
I was also gonna say like, a large part of like a cafe environment nowadays that's not a chain like Starbucks, for example, is like the locally sourced foods and whatnot, which really holds the notion of like healthy planet, healthy humans.
hmm
So like I like that aspect of it as well.
Okay. So I guess we can keep the mission statement, and if there's nothing to add to it, we can move on. What do you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the best at making up mission statements. So.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
I definitely agree with that. Don't really think we're English majors
oh yeah,
here.
definitely
So.
not.
Yeah, nope.
All right, so to the main event. So I came up with a long list containing 40 points of what we can do to make our restaurant sustainable. So we'll go through each one of the point, discuss why this is important, like what reason does this point have, and we'll rank them as if is this really important or somewhat important or quite trivial. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Sounds good.
number one, using non-GMO product. So what's your thought about this one?
I mean,
We all know what GMOs are, right? Just making sure.
yeah, GMOs
Yeah,
are genetically modified.
organisms.
organism.
Or, yeah.
So
I mean, in my opinion, I don't have a problem using GMOs
Right.
because it's how we get more flavorful foods
Right.
a lot of the time.
there's definitely good side
And-
of GMOs.
Yeah, there's definitely a good side. There is a downside, I would say,
Mhm.
but I feel like it has a stigma where people think it's a lot worse than it actually is.
Right. I think GMO could be quite controversial. There's not really a found side effect for now, but I think it's quite reasonable for people to be afraid of it because the thing is we still don't know. Even like
Yeah,
we don't know if it's
Yeah, there's not
good
much of
or
a-
not, but they don't want to bet their health on. So even if it turns out good, they don't want to be betting their health on until they know. What do you think, Isole?
yeah,
I agree with that a lot.
Mhm.
I also think that like the public doesn't really know much about GMOs, so when they hear genetically modified, it kind of scares them, right?
Right, the
So,
name. It's like a
um,
scarlet letter
Yeah.
to
yeah.
them.
Yeah. So
I
like
mean,
it can be like bad marketing in a way if you say, "Oh, we use GMOs."
Right.
the thing with GMOs is it's also used to help like protect the plants. So like, say you have like coffee beans, you can make them genetically modified so insects are repelled by it instead of using like pesticides or something.
Right.
So there's definitely an upside to things like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. So where would you rank the non-GMO part?
If we're on a 1 to 3 scale,
3 being
1 being
important, 2 being somewhat important, 1 being not so important, I would say.
I would probably put it at a 1. I wouldn't advertise like, hey, we use GMOs, but like, I just wouldn't mention it
Right.
if in our restaurant. If they ask, yes, we do.
Mhm.
But that's how I see it as like very trivial.
Okay.
In my opinion, I would put it as a 2, just because it is definitely less expensive, one, to buy GMOs and to use GMOs in products,
Mhm.
but at the same time, if word goes out that your business is using GMOs, it could hinder your ability to maintain business and customers. So I would say it's somewhat important to talk about, but at the same time, like there's a benefit to it, so we should consider it.
Right.
I think it's more important to educate the wide public on GMOs instead of not necessarily not using them. Make sense?
Right. So while we're
Yeah.
talking about this, I'll try to make sure that my perspective is gonna be somewhat of chef's perspective. So on this case on non-GMO, I would actually put this on 3 because if I have a restaurant, I'm pretty sure I want to make sure I have what people want, and if the customers are not so familiar with non-GMOs, I don't think I wouldn't risk my restaurant on using GMOs or not. So I think it's definitely pretty important.
That makes sense.
So let's move on to number 2. Using local farm and farmers market to make my food in restaurant. What do you think? I think this is quite important because, if I have a restaurant, I want to make sure all of my food is fresh and nice. And if anything's coming from far away or even like from other countries in other continent, excluding all those transportation fees that I'll have to pay, I don't think it's gonna be the best ingredient I'll have. So, what do you think?
I would definitely agree. I think it's definitely important to have at least options of local farm food. I think there's also definitely like a reason to have some exotic type food. So since we're in a coffee shop, having like Colombian coffee or something like that, it's definitely important to have some aspects of it not necessarily local. But for like the majority of it, I would say local is very important.
Right, there's some ingredients that you can't get anywhere else but at certain places. So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, I think I would put it at like a 3 as well. So I think it would be very important. Just again for the freshness standpoint, and like I guess I'm taking more of like a big business mind to these issues,
Right.
but like marketing, people like locally sourced, and in terms of local economy, it's bolstering the local economy, so therefore it's inadvertently giving you better business.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just necessarily the fact that you're helping local businesses, it also helps spread the word of mouth. Like, hey, go to this coffee shop. They help other businesses. Like, it's a good publicity thing too.
Or
it's
like,
not necessarily just. It's good, yes, for the environment and for your like freshness, but it's also good like publicity.
yeah, and like in terms of like the people who are sourcing you with like in a cafe, we would like locally sourced milk or meats or breads for your sandwiches and whatnot. Like the people who work in those like the bakery or at the dairy farm or whatnot, they could spread the word of your coffee shop or cafe to their co-workers, their colleagues and stuff, and it could spread business that way as well.
I see. So it's safe to say that.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was also gonna say, even with like honey and stuff, they always say it's like good to have honey that's local because it helps like. I think it helps with like allergies and stuff like that too.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think it's safe to say that all of us agree that's really important.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, 100, of course.
Okay. I love all this conversation we were having. Okay. Definitely better than what I expected.
Actually.
Okay, moving on to number 3, fair trade. I remember we all learned about fair trade when we were in freshman. And it's quite important knowing how much exploitation that could go on all around the world, even in like America and Canada. It's hard to say that we don't have any here. So having a fair trade products in cafe, what do you think? Like, definitely it's gonna cost more. And being a fair trade really does not guarantee better quality. It's to be honest, fair trade for me is all about being conscious and being ethical. So, what do you say?
Yeah, I definitely think it's more of a like ethics thing because it's easy to get away with making unfair trades.
Right, unfair.
So to say.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, it's fine. Makes sense.
But yeah, I think it's definitely like it's also very good publicity if you go with the fair trade and stuff like that. especially with working with uh like I what am I thinking? The less fortunate countries, I'd say.
There's definitely some countries
Third,
that
third world.
lack
Yeah, third world.
policy. Yes.
Yeah. Catholic?
Yeah, so I think fair trade is important just because all people deserve to, like, we have human dignity, and um we have kind of like a moral view of each other, and in a sense, if we are belittling other people, and like this is their work, this is what they do for a living, and we are essentially robbing them by not giving them what they deserve, then I feel like we aren't living up to our standards as humans. So like
Yeah.
Right.
fair trade is just kind of like ethically, it's the right
It would
thing
also
to do.
Yeah, it would also go against our policy
Right.
that we made earlier.
So things like fair trade it's quite clear that product with fair trade mark are definitely more expensive than regular ones, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yes, of
a
course.
concept that I want to introduce. It's called true cost accounting. It's a concept that those costs that you see on the paper might be different in long-term effect. The cheaper ones, you might buy it cheaper, but in long-term effect, it will cost you more. But those fair trade ones have a possibility of not having those side effects in the future. So what do you think if no one buys fair trade and if the exploitation just keeps on going, do you think there's any kind of big problem that can be happen like in the future?
You want to go, Capelli?
Can you kind of repeat that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I kind of got
100%
I got a little lost.
So there's a concept called true cost accounting. Did you get that?
Yeah, true cost accounting. Okay.
So it means that when you buy a product, the cost you see on the paper right now, it might not be the same as the time moves on. You might have to pay more in a form of taxes or any kind of like in any kind of form that you'll have to pay in some kind of way. So it's saying if you buy cheap product just because it's cheap, it's gonna cost you more later on. Do you understand that?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you saying like quality type thing?
No. Okay.
Well, I think just like quality could be an aspect to it, but like let's say you buy fair trade, like the government could see that you are buying fair trade and like give you a tax break or something like that, or maybe
Okay,
like,
yeah.
or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
since you're buying fair trade, other people with the same like moral views or can reward you for buying fair trade by paying a higher price for your product, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the other example on the opposite side is, say if you buy a really cheap food just because it's cheap, and if it gets you a health problem, you'll have to pay for your health insurance and everything. So
Yeah.
you're paying more now just because you chose cheaper food.
The cheaper option, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I think we can talk more about this as we go on. So fair trade, how important it is.
I'd say it's a 3.
300.
Especially with our business model that we already
Yeah,
established.
I agree. It's very important. Okay. Moving on, number 4, and we'll try to speed up more as we go. Grass-fed
Okay.
beef. It's simple. It's straightforward. Grass-fed beef. They are more ethical. They produce less carbon dioxide. So some people say grass-fed beef is much more better than corn-fed as of a community and the planet. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know too much on the topic. Personally, I don't really care,
Right.
but especially with our business model again,
Right.
with the planet and stuff, I'd say it's going to be more important, especially with the community that we're trying to make with going with this.
Right, but I want to mentioned something really important. Like I just said, you just say you don't really care. I think that's really important. Like having a restaurant and having customers, and I think some of us could like overthink and like just overdo it, and people might not really care that much. So I think it's really important factor to be also think about that.
Yeah.
What do you say, Kasoli?
Um, I'm kind of on the same wave. Like in terms of like a cafe, I don't know how much like buying beef, like I don't know,
Like I don't
beef or some sandwiches, but
Right.
like a
I
roast
guess
beef
in
sandwich,
terms,
but other
yeah,
than that,
in terms of milk, maybe it could make some difference. Like, I guess if you advertise that you have grass-fed beef,
it looks good.
it looks good
Right,
for
marketing
you.
wise.
But like, yeah, marketing-wise. But in terms of product, I don't really think it affects product.
Right.
So like, I would say it's a 2.
Mhm.
I don't think it's
Yeah, that's
super
what I think.
important, but at the same time, it could be beneficial to the business and to your product.
I would agree, yeah.
To a slight degree.
And I think next topic, antibiotic myths and free range chicken, which is number 5 and 6, is I think it's almost the same concept. It's just a little bit different. So it's gonna be like almost similar. It's more people talk about like rights of animal. There's definitely a group of people that act to have better animal rights, but it doesn't really connect with the quality of the food. I would say most of the time. I mean, some it does, some really doesn't, and there's also a group of people who doesn't really care much about them and would rather prioritize something else. So I think we can all agree that those three can stay somewhere between 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's how I feel the same way. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean,
Go ahead. Yeah. No.
at least with like antibiotic-free meat,
Right.
I feel like antibiotics just help to keep the whatever meat you're eating healthy, right? So
It keeps animals from getting sick, but
yeah, so
the fact is you'll also be consuming the antibiotic, and you'll build that resistance that when you have to take antibiotics when you get sick, it might not work because you have built up that resistance. Yeah, so I think it's
I don't really ever get sick, so
Yeah. Yes,
at least for me, yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's just better ways to spend money and energy than worrying about free range and antibiotic free products. Like,
Yeah, I do too.
free range is realistically, are you going to be able to taste a difference? Maybe a slight degree, but like for the product that we're
It's going to be very minimal.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Totally understandable. Number 7, organic food product. Now this is a little bit different from like the things we just talked about because organic is actually the only federally marked. Like all this free range antibiotic free, they can just like put the mark on it without getting tested by a federal agency. But organic is different. Like they have to get a certain amount of testing done. So, what do you think? Is it really important to buy organic food?
I think it's important just because of the stigma. Organic food itself, if you like, what I've heard when you read into it, it's really not too much different. Like you have to use like a little bit different techniques, and then it's considered organic. But like, I've heard overall it really doesn't affect the taste or anything of your product. But it looks really good for the company if you use it. So I would say definitely have like organic options. So I would put it probably at like a 2.
What do you say, Kasili?
Oh, sorry, my mic stopped working
it's
for
fine,
a second.
Don't worry about it.
I personally, I think that the organic food market is a large business right now, especially with the growth of like organic only markets
Yes.
and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's definitely growing.
So I definitely think, from a marketing standpoint, it's good business.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, um, I personally think that I've been eating organic food thanks to my mother for probably about 10 years now,
Okay.
and she was like one of the first to hop on the wave, and I find a huge difference between organic products and non-organic products. I actually think that like organic products taste better, and like I don't know, in terms of like fruit, let's say an apple I think would be more crisp and um more tasteful if it was non-organic than organic. So I personally think organic food products are like the only way to go. But
Okay. I see.
I'm kind of biased.
No, I think that's a valid point. I'm pretty sure some people can actually tell the difference, some might not. I think I am the part of some might not, but to me, organic, it goes more than just taste. So, organic really is based on what kind of fertilizer and pesticide you use. It's all about using less chemicals. So, if you're using less chemicals and reducing the pollution rate on waters and soils, I think it's a valid checklist to go. So I would give it a 3.
I agree on the 3 ranking, and definitely like if it reduces waste and stuff,
Right, right.
I would go for it. And
There's
nowadays,
definitely no downside
much
besides the
there,
cost.
True.
yeah. Except nowadays, there's so many organic products. They're starting to flood the markets with them, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So, like,
so
the cost is
the price is
decreasing
going down, yeah.
as well. So
I agree. Okay. Daily menu based on the nearby market. So I say the concept is we don't really have set menu. So I would say we go to market every morning, see what's available, and plan our menus based on what we can find. So in that way, we can use fresh ingredient and no need to pay more for non-seasonal ingredient and possibly even less food waste. So give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely like that. It's gonna keep our product fresh. It's gonna let regulars change up what they want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
It'll give them more variety on a daily
All
basis.
right.
So I think that's definitely like a good way of going about it.
yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily want daily
Mm-hmm.
new menu, because
But at
just
least,
logistically that can be a little
Right.
difficult for like the
It's going to
chef to
be
come up with a whole new
a
menu
lot
every
more
single
work and it
day.
could be a little bit more challenging. Yes.
Correct. But like
but
weekly
Weekly.
would be good,
Okay.
or maybe monthly or seasonally,
Right.
depending on
Seasonally. That's usually
what
the way to go.
yeah,
what's yeah, depending on what's like being harvested at the time or whatnot.
Okay. So
But like
yeah, go ahead.
daily seems a little
Too
extreme,
extreme.
but
Mm.
I think the model of changing the menu and changing the vibe is good.
All right.
I think if you want to go for like a daily type thing, you can have like so every week you have like a Monday special or a Tuesday special,
Right.
something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
But
that would
then
work.
you
That would
definitely
work too.
yeah, it's not like everything on the menu changes every day.
Right.
Mhm.
Understand. Okay. So let's look at number 9 and 11 together. 9 is recycling bins, and 11 is a compost bins. So actually, while I was living in America with you guys, I did not see a compost bins. It's
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
really have compost
it
bins.
definitely feels like Canada is much more on the more doing side of all this environment stuff. I don't want to be too mean about it, but yeah.
Oh no, 100%, I agree.
I actually I don't know.
Right.
Um, Logan, I know like since we've known each other forever. Actually, before I went to elementary school with you, my elementary school had like we as a class project we had a compost bin.
Really?
And we would actually take we would take turns by week on who like managed the compost bin.
Okay, that's interesting.
And like we would like go into our yard and find worms and help make our own soil and stuff. And like I think the US definitely is on an upswing in this, but yes, Canada is 100% more progressive.
Right.
And I commend Canada for that because I wish the US was like that. But like I know in Cincinnati, where I live currently, like there have been pop-up gardens,
Oh,
just like community gardens that have been starting, and so we're like not compost binning really, but like we are like putting our food waste and stuff into community gardens for soil and stuff, and we're conserving waste that way.
okay, I see that. So I think it's really easy to say that having a recycling bin and compost bins, it's just really important, and there's not much opinions that can go. Like,
Yeah, I think at least for recycling, that's like 100% need.
okay,
But compost bin, I'm not sure. Like, at least like business standpoint, like
Mhm.
I'm in America, so
right.
like I don't really know how it works too well in a restaurant standpoint. Because I did have one in like middle school or elementary school where we had like the worms and stuff in a bin, but like restaurant wise, I don't know how well that works.
Okay,
Well, actually, I think compost bins like this actually connects to number 12. I think pretty well.
okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean,
If you're planning on growing your own products, like you're planning on growing your own vegetables or herbs or something like that for your soup salads and sandwiches, I think composting would be perfect. Reduces waste.
I could see it.
It
in
reduces
that.
cost of product. Your products are fresh. So like I think if you were to do something along those lines, then I think those two pair really well.
Right. So I would say we all agree that's pretty important.
Yeah.
Yes.
About number 10, which is do not violate any food safety regulation. To be honest, I don't think we have anything to talk about it, because if we don't
That's a
follow
yeah,
the
that's
regulation, we'll be
a need.
yeah. It's not a
this is
subject
a
of
no-brainer.
yeah. It's no brainer. Okay.
Yeah.
So like Kitsuli said, number 12, growing our own herbs is pretty important too. You know, it's more efficient, less cost,
think-
fresh. Yes.
Yeah, like spices, mints, stuff like that. That's definitely
Rosemary.
Right.
yeah, like the basic herbs are definitely like it's especially in like a coffee shop
Right.
standpoint, it just one it's aesthetic. Two, it shows that we're using like what
Fresh.
fresh products, and then yeah, and then it would also help reduce waste. So
3, they're pretty low maintenance.
Oh yeah. True.
yeah,
So it's not that hard to manage. It's sustainable.
Right. Sustainable.
Yep.
Oh, that's the credit roll right there. Okay. Moving on to let's see number 13, 14, and 15 all together. 13 being no plastic, 14 being use unbleached recycled paper products, and 15 being no paper cups. So it's all about reducing a single-use products. So what do you think? Is it too extreme, or does it make sense? What do you say?
I think it's definitely important to have a way for people to leave with their products. So if they want to come in, grab a coffee, and leave. So definitely offer like reusable cups
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I think it's still important to have at least paper cups because they are degradable
Right.
and like they're cheaper than having everyone buy a reusable cup.
Right.
So I think it's definitely necessary for at least paper cups, but plastic we can definitely go, I'd say, without plastic.
Mhm.
Maybe straws, but even now we have the biodegradable straws that are becoming
Right.
more and more
Paper
popular.
straws. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for the unbleached recycled paper, I really don't have too big of a knowledge on that.
Yeah. It's just like less harming to break it down. I would say we're still cutting down trees. I mean, we're recycling, but it's not going to be enough to be used to like all of us. So we still have to like cut down trees. So it's just
Yeah.
slowing down the process.
Yeah, I don't know. I think having paper cups is definitely
Important.
a a good
Good
option.
option. Yeah.
No plastic for sure,
Mhm.
and um, and like this question also kind of ties down into number 40, right? Giving a discount
Right.
to customers
True.
who bring their own reusable cups and tumblers, where like we want to reduce waste in as many ways as possible. So offering that discount is a good way to do it, but I don't think realistically we can cut out paper cups completely.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
So like but definitely like unbleached recycled paper products in terms of napkins, toilet paper, whatever. Like I think that's pretty important because bleaching those products creates a lot of waste. It's a lot of CO2 emission for very little benefit. Like it looks better, ooh, right? But like, is it worth?
It looks better on the company if you use the recycled products too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's good
like,
publicity. Even if it might be more expensive, you're bringing in more customers, and with that like being advertised that we use recycled, it can also increase the price on our own
yeah,
products.
Okay, I agree.
agreed.
So, okay, next is let's look at 16 and 17 together. It's 16 being limited quantity of the food, and 17 being the short operating hours. So, I mean, there's a certain restaurant that sells a really limited amount of food. I would say there's a ramen place in Japan I know that only serves like 50 bowls of ramen per day, just limited. And
Oh wow.
But the quality must be amazing.
right, that too. And short operating hour, like Rise in Raleigh, right? Have you ever been there?
Hmm.
They only
Yep,
open
yep.
till 7 to 2, which is like short.
Well, that's like Dallas Chicken and Biscuits.
Right.
They're only open in the mornings, and their blueberry muffins. Once they run out of them, they're out. So
So 16 and 17 are talking about those. It definitely reduces the food waste because we're not over making or over stacking their ingredients. So nothing really goes to waste, but we are risking a potential customers from coming.
I think short operating hours, especially for a coffee house, I think we would need to be longer operating hours because even at night, at least a lot of college kids like to go in, do homework in coffee shops
Right.
and stuff.
True.
Yes, 100%. I do.
So
that.
I think long hours are kind of a must,
Right.
especially for a coffee shop. Especially if we're close to a college,
Right.
and
Or
but
even
limited
in a larger
quantity.
city business people.
Yeah, but for limited quantity, I would say we can definitely have things on our menu because it's fresh. We're going to the market
Right.
like every week, so we have to have a certain amount that we can sell per day per week.
Right.
So it's definitely going to be there are going to be some limitations, I think, and I think that's completely fine
Right.
because otherwise our waste is going to go through the roof.
Okay.
Um, honestly, I think that having the shorter hours and limited quantity is a good business model. One, because if your product is good, your product is fresh, but you have a limited amount, it drives up demand,
Right.
which can
Yep.
then in turn drive up costs. So, in a way, I like let's say for our sandwiches, soups, whatever, um, that we get renowned in the area, but we only make a good amount that can later on allow us to increase price, make more profit margin, something along those lines. And I don't even know if closing at 5 p.m. would be considered short for a coffee shop.
Well, I think
I
it's
think that's
definitely
pretty reasonable.
short for a coffee shop. Like Logan said, most of coffee shop, I would say, at least 50% of the customer could be student, which they might want to stay and study. Like it's somewhat like a library, but with a coffee.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make an atmosphere, and if you're rushing people out at 5 o'clock when they get out of class at 4, they only have an hour to sit there and do work or. So I think definitely being open later, especially for a coffee shop, we're not advertising ourselves as like a breakfast place. If you're a breakfast place, 100% close before 5.
Mhm.
But
For a cafe.
as a coffee shop, yeah, as a cafe where you want people to come in, relax, do their work, get stuff done, even just browsing the internet and relaxing in the coffee shop. I feel like that's a big part of it,
Okay.
and it's hard to do if we close at 5.
I totally agree with both of you.
Understandable.
It's really debatable based on where our cafe might locate because, like Logan said, cafe near colleges, they're always packed, like no matter what time it is. But there's
Yeah, I could 100% even see like for a coffee shop on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe not Sunday, but at least Friday, Saturday, being open till like 3 a.m.
Right.
type thing.
But in some places, like customer dies out after like 5, like they're empty. So even some cafes they like turn into like restaurant or bar, like so they have like two different businesses in one place. But
Yeah.
if you're not doing that, it might be best of us to close down and just reduce all those energies and like using peoples and everything because like the cost of opening the place while you're not having enough customers is gonna definitely hurt
Yeah.
us. So I would say it's pretty debatable.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely have to see what kind of people are coming in,
Right.
and like you would have to definitely know your audience
All right.
for that.
And like maybe you can do something where you shut down part of your menu at a certain time, but you keep the restaurant open and have like a limited menu.
Yeah, that could work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you have like a back portion, you can close down like the back portion, and then
Yeah. So you close the back kitchen but keep the front like I don't know what you would call it, bar
Yeah.
open.
yeah,
I see that. Okay. Moving on. Number 18 and 19. Number 18 being having a vegan and vegetarian option, and 19 having a religious food option such as halal or koshers. So for these two, I want to introduce another concept called food security. It's a concept of saying that every person should be able to get a food in a reasonable cost based on their dietary choices. So saying like you should be able to get like lactose free, glucose free, anything you want from everywhere you go. It's an introducing of concept of you should be able to get what you want from anywhere.
I mean, personally, I believe it's the restaurant's decision because we're a privately owned business. It doesn't have to fulfill everybody's need. I think it's definitely important to fulfill people's needs because it brings in more business.
Right.
But to be like, to have all the different types of milk, like almond milk, soy milk, all of that, that might not be too big, but once you start branching out and going like more and more in depth, it can get very expensive very fast.
Right.
So even with religion food options, like we could definitely have, there's no pork options and stuff like that. And vegan and vegetarian options I feel are very important. But going to the extremes I feel is too much.
Okay.
I don't know if I really have an opinion on this.
It's totally fine.
Because I don't know. It's Logan said it well. It's a private business. It's their own decision, and they have like, yes, it's important to meet people's desires because that is definitely what runs a business. But at the same time, you have to think about what's best for you, what's easiest for the business, what can make you the most money, and catering to one specific group of people is not always the way to go, right? You want to treat the general public, not one small group of society.
Right. I think I agree with both of you. It's going to be our restaurant, so I don't think we have like obligations to serve everyone. Like if we have certain food that some people can't eat, I'll make sure we have a food and they might have a problem with eating it, but I wouldn't go to extreme as giving some kind of different options to it. I think that's just too much to a restaurant owners to
and like
expect
realistically,
too much. Yes.
Realistically, there's going to be other restaurants.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're definitely not going to be the
cafe,
only.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're looking for that very niche thing, even if they don't have it, you can probably go to a grocery store and then make it yourself. I mean, like if you're that niche, you're already gonna, you're gonna have trouble finding food. So
Sure. Okay. Number 20, options for smaller portions. So I think this really came into my idea because I was living in America. So every time I had class in Canada, they just compare everything to America. It's weird. But when they were talking about food waste, like I know we're guilty because America is like number one.
America's food waste is insane. I work in the food industry, and
like you work in
I see the waste.
Bojangles, which is
a fast food
chicken restaurant. Because no one in Canada knows that, but you see a lot of food being wasted, right?
Oh, 100%. Even at the end of the night when we throw away our food, it's insane how much food we throw away.
It's crazy. So I think having options for smaller portions, like customers that really not really in a mood of eating much, but still want some kind of snack.
If you want, like a bite to eat, a small boost.
Snack portions.
Right? Yeah.
Like if we're making sandwiches and stuff, definitely making like half a sandwich and selling just half a sandwich. That's I think that's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, no-brainer.
Why not do that?
Okay, no-brainer.
You can charge a little more, like, so you get, when you buy more, you get a better price. But if you're wanting something small, it's going to be cheap, but it's going to be not necessarily half the price of the full sandwich.
It's going to be more expensive for the quantity.
Yeah.
Because buying in bulk is always less expensive. But like
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Okay, no-brainer. Okay, number 21. Reusing the coffee grind. So, being a cafe, we're gonna have a lot of used coffee grinds. So, reusing them for fertilizing our herb garden, I think this one's a little bit of no-brainer too.
Yeah,
And yeah,
if we're having our herbs, why not reuse them? That goes with our compost
yeah,
bin and everything else.
Yeah, I definitely think this relates highly to um, composting.
right.
So
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer to
I'm here for it.
Okay,
yeah.
another no-brainer one. Number 22. Advertising local farms that we use. I think this is more than giving it back to community than focusing on our restaurant. So this is like what we can do, but it's not really necessary. But how do you think advertising local farms gonna help us or like sustain our community?
I mean, I think it's definitely like if I advertise your product, you're gonna have to give me a better price on the product, just from a business standpoint. Like, I'm not gonna just freely advertise our local farms just because that's not necessarily good business standpoint.
Okay.
So if they give me, it doesn't even have to be that big of a discount. I would say
Yeah.
just small discount. I'm bringing in them customers, and it helps my customers too. So it's like a
So
win-win.
we're like really building a good relationship between.
Yeah, it's definitely a relationship, and I would say you have to look into who you're advertising, and 100% I feel like that's an important thing to do
Yeah, definitely.
because you want to definitely be advertising like the good.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think it's good just because local grows local.
Right. It goes around.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think that local products are always better because it's
Oh
self-sustainable
yeah.
in terms of local economy. If you're helping to grow the local economy, you're growing jobs in the area, and therefore more jobs will want to come to the, or like more people will want to move to the area to fill the jobs, and it will kind of grow outwards, right?
Doesn't that kind of go with number 31 too?
Number 31, support local community. Yeah, it definitely do. Well, number 31, I was going to like expand with supporting like schools or like organizations, but it definitely it's
Okay.
the same concept, except
Yeah.
you know it's not really the same relationship, but we're still building a good relationship around community, being sustainable, and also a very good marketing practice.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I feel like it's definitely important,
Okay.
Yeah.
but I feel like you also need something in return for advertisement
Right.
because
Mhm.
Of course,
So
you're not just going to give away product.
yeah, you're not just giving away free advertisement.
nothing's free in life, except
No.
like
And it's not good business model
True.
either to just
Nope.
okay.
okay.
Number 20, no, never mind. Number 23 and 4. Number 23 being using minimal lighting system and try to maximize the natural lighting inside our cafe. Saying like not stars. Oh my god. Sun.
The sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't drink your coffee under stars. That's too late. You need to go to bed.
Wait, we just said we want to stay
Lies.
open late. What?
Lies.
I need a coffee right now, and it's
I've had
11
coffee
a.m.
at 9
or
o'clock
11
at
p.m.
night.
Okay.
Yeah, I seriously need a coffee too. This modern physics stuff.
I'm going to see Joker later,
Okay.
so.
And number 24 is order at the front, and with that, we don't have to print a bunch of menus or like there's note papers to write down people's orders. So number 23,
Yeah, I think
it's really a restaurant system. What do you see?
Yeah, I think ordering up front, especially in like a coffee house, that's like typical, isn't it?
Well, I would say it's typical for like just coffee house, but if it's a cafe, I would say some cafe they just do like sit downs, you know.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I think ordering up front, it just goes more with our business plan. It minimizes the paper,
Right.
minimizes waste. So,
It's more
More
efficient.
efficient.
and if we want to have our changing menu,
Right. We could change.
it makes it easier to
frequently.
change on like a chalkboard than changing the menu every day.
Also, realistically, we can get away with less employees.
Definitely.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
don't have to have.
you don't have to have
wait
waitress
staff.
wait staff. Yeah,
So
And it's really
something along
important
those
as a
lines.
business wise. I mean, if you're like overstaffed and not really making that much money, that's not sustainable on our side. So
yeah, especially if we want to be open late hours.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You're gonna have to. You can have less people working if it's order up front,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. If I'm cutting you off, just say it.
no, that's where I was ending.
Oh.
And I wanted to go with the lighting.
Uh huh.
I feel like in a coffee shop, minimal lighting is a plus
Plus, okay.
because you can always like lower the curtain and make it darker if that's what you want.
Mhm.
But like the sunlight, if you maximize light, like it just makes it more open. It feels more like welcoming,
Right. It's more warm.
more of a warm, and I feel like it's a very good way to get people to come in. And even at night, you don't want to be in a building necessarily that's super bright and then go out to the dark,
Mhm.
or vice versa, be out in the dark and then come into a super bright place. It's nice to have more calm,
Soothing.
dimmer lighting. Yeah. So
Okay.
it would just feel good with the atmosphere, in my opinion.
All right.
yeah, I don't know. It's just good aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
more to say.
Okay. Number 25 is something very interesting. Having a transparent and open kitchen, so it's definitely we're showing what we're making or how we're making.
Personally, I love open kitchens because whenever I go to eat sushi or go to Jersey Mike's or anything like that, I like to watch them make my food. It's entertainment, in my opinion,
Mhm.
and two, people get to see that you're using fresh products, you're using the good products, and I guess it would put a little more pressure on the chef.
Yeah.
But I think overall it's worth the risk.
Mhm.
So I'm all for a open kitchen.
Okay.
I agree.
You agree?
I like open kitchens. It just kind of gives the customer a sense of safety because they can see you making their food, right? It kind of it's comforting.
All right.
So
Yeah, you're
I'm
not gonna have
yeah.
a mad chef spit in your food.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you guys love an open kitchen, I suggest that you guys come to this restaurant that's owned by our school while I'm working there. So when you guys get ripped off by a $70 meal there while I'm cooking your scallops, definitely a thing to watch.
Hey,
Make sure
who
you
knows?
spit in my food.
Who knows? Maybe when I come to Toronto, I'll drop $70 on you. Boo.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh yeah, 100%.
moving on. 26,
I would spend
minimal
$70
usage
too.
of chemical. I think this is another no-brainer. Like, no one really likes a chemical in their body, so minimal usage of chemical helps our business, customers'
It
health,
looks good for the business.
and definitely protect the environment. So, 26.
I think
Yeah.
chemicals are important, especially for cleaning and
Yes,
stuff.
sanitation. Yes.
Yeah, so I think minimal use is important, but you definitely do need
Yeah, we
chemicals.
can't just go out with it. It's gonna be.
Yeah, you're not gonna just scrub the floor with dirt
Right.
and be like, "There we go, it's clean." But I think it's definitely important to not
overuse it.
overuse chemicals.
Yeah, I mean, and there's there's less harsh chemicals, right?
Okay.
Maybe like using the less harsh chemicals rather than
Like not use bleach, but use
like
an alternative.
correct. Like use something that's a little more eco-friendly, a little less harsh if to be ingested.
I see.
Hopefully that never happens. And like,
But
like
stuff happens.
realistically, when
Realistically,
you're
yeah.
cleaning, when you clean your cooking surface or utensils or stuff,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Something
even
along those lines.
when I work in Bojangles, it's not 100% like I would say chemical free because you're wiping down the surfaces with water that's been basic, like basic water. We make it more basic to help
yeah,
kill
lower
germs.
pH.
Right.
Yeah. But and then right after you wipe it down, you have more food on the table. So it's like yes, there's going to be chemicals, but if you minimize it, it's not going to really do any harm.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. Let's do number 27 and 39 together. 27 is ethical sourcing of coffee beans through direct trade, and 39 is roasting our own beans at our cafe. So, direct trade is somewhat very similar to fair trade, but the name gives away it's more direct between the coffee bean producer and us.
I feel like it's. Oh, were you done?
Oh yeah, you can talk. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like it's important to definitely have. Where was it? It was 29.
27 and 39.
27. Okay. Yeah. I think it's definitely good to have like the ethically sourced coffee beans, even if it might be more expensive. That goes with the fair trade, and if we get it direct from the coffee bean
Producers.
plant
Yeah.
production, it looks better on the company and it helps other businesses and it cuts the price of having that ethically sourced.
Right.
So I think that's important, but I feel like roasting your own or like what would that be like growing our own coffee plant?
No, so
No.
roasting is the coffee beans.
Okay, so that would just be getting like raw coffee
Yeah,
in.
we'll get a raw coffee beans and we'll roast.
I feel like
Imagine growing your own coffee in Canada.
Yeah.
God, I'm like one, that's a lot of land for
Two, the climate kind of sucks
yeah
for that type of
it
product.
would have to be a very seasonal product. Our coffee shop's only open.
No. Like coffee shop only open for 1 week because that's all coffee we got.
Yeah. So I think roasting your own beans, that could also be kind of difficult because it would require
A roasting machine.
more. Yeah, it would require more on the business. So it would. I feel like it would be hard for the sustainability of the product,
Okay.
but I feel like definitely get the ethical source and go with like the fair trade and get it direct from the production company.
Okay. Any thoughts?
In terms of like direct source, I like it because it cuts out the middleman.
Yeah, middleman. That's the point.
Yeah, so cuts out the middleman, less expensive.
But still ethical and
Yes, and the product hasn't been tampered with, right? So I think it's better. I like it.
and the roasting.
I think roasting is okay.
I mean,
Like realistically, yes, it's more cost.
well, I want to
But
talk
at
about
this-
that because I really don't think roasting our own beans at our cafe would cost more. I mean, it would cost more at the beginning to have a roasting machine, but long term effect because to get the beans roasted, we still have like the company the producers will send their beans to roasting company, which they will roast, then they will sell it to us. So like think about all the transportation fees and fees they will have to pay for the roasting.
I guess,
Long term,
yeah.
it will be cheaper, but in the short term, it's so I think it's debatable.
I feel like if you can start your business not having your own roast,
But
and
it
then
grows.
later down the line, once you have sustainability, you can get your own, and that wouldn't that also help with like being able to flavor
Yeah,
your
yeah.
different coffee
Right.
beans? So like you could have different types of roasts.
Medium roast, dark roast, definitely.
Yeah,
Okay. Number 28, donation to the food bank. I think this is pretty simple.
that's no brainer. Definitely do
Like
that.
if like
It-
leftovers, like it's much better to donate
Yeah,
them to like storing away.
Then just throw it
Yeah.
away.
And, like-
It's very good publicity
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So
Um,
and a
so-
tax write-off.
supports local community directly. It supports, yeah, it feeds right into the mission statement.
Mhm.
We're looking out for our local or our fellow humans, right?
Right.
Some people aren't as
Fortunate as us.
correct. So like, we want to be ethical. We want to help people, and we want to grow our community, and that's a good way to do it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. We can see number 29 and 32 together. 29 is information on food that we're selling, such as the sources and nutrition information and calories. And 32 is we provide another information based on Canada's food guide. So, do you guys have a knowledge on food guide? Like America has one.
I don't
Um,
have any knowledge. Is that
I
just
don't-
saying like what is in our food? Is that pretty much?
It's a recommendation of how much calories
Like-
and the food group that we have to consume daily.
So I actually have a very good knowledge of this, and I actually
You're an athlete.
attended. I attended a talk today about
Oh,
nutrition
okay.
and what we should be eating.
Mhm.
Right, the two-thirds of the plate should be grains. 2/3 of the plate should be fruits, vegetables, and then 2/3, and then the rest should be a mixture of protein and fat and dairy.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think that's important. I think it's just something that all people should know.
Right.
Guidelines for healthy living.
I mean, you just throw up a poster, basically, right? So
Well,
Yeah,
the thing
like,
is,
it-
if you give those informations, some people might feel like last need of eating food. So I think it definitely have some kind of effect on the business. Like Canada, when they fixed their food guide recently, the company who purchases beef was very upset because they reduced the amount of beef that should be consumed by people daily. So I do think it definitely have some kind of effect on their business, but it really depends on do we care more on our profit or other customers' health and community.
the thing with the food guides is it's changing so much. Like, because you look back 100 years ago, we mostly ate meat. Like meat was probably the biggest portion, and
I
then
think people still eat meat a lot. They just
yeah,
don't
No, but,
pay
like-
attention to the food guide.
yeah, but our obesity rating was also lower, and this is like a more recent study where
Well, that's
if
because
you
we
look
had
at-
less processed food back in the day,
yeah,
Definitely processed
where we didn't have as much fatty foods like potato chips.
or burgers.
Love
but natural fats
Stuff like
are
that.
definitely important,
Mhm.
whereas we're getting a lot of
Trans
trans fats, right? Trans fats are what we kind of need to steer clear from. So if you eat like meat, I feel like it's not necessarily important that you're eating like 1/3 meat, dairy, and stuff like that. I think it's more important for eating just like natural food, cutting out the trans fats and stuff like that,
I see that.
and less processed food.
Okay. Okay.
And wait, what was the other? We were talking about the food guide and
Just like
nutrition.
the calorie.
I think
yeah,
nutrition isn't that necessary in most businesses in
Well,
America.
I would say it's necessary for the
I think
restaurant.
It's state by state.
Okay.
Like,
I
if you're
believe.
selling like concealed products like milk or anything like that, it's necessary. But like if it's restaurant, I don't think it's like 100% necessary.
I think it's good
Mhm.
because if people want to watch their weight or know how much calories they're intaking, it looks better on the business if they can just straight up tell you
Yeah.
what's in it.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it kind of seems like you don't know what's in it.
I can see that.
So
mean, like-
I feel like it looks good on the on the company. It might decrease what people are choosing to eat, but I feel like it's kind of important to show the nutrition.
Yeah, definitely.
Facts.
Is, yeah.
It's transparency. People like transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah.
People like to know. So
Same with our open
Yeah,
kitchen.
definitely. Okay.
Transparent businesses, I feel, are very good.
Yeah, they're very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, some transparent businesses are good. In
Yeah.
terms of restaurants, the transparent food model is a lot better. I
Yeah.
feel.
I 100% agree.
Okay. Do you mind if we move on?
Not at all.
Nope.
Okay.
Go for it.
Number 30 is foraging seasonal fruits or other ingredients. Do you guys
We already touched on this, didn't we?
foraging?
A little bit. We're not foraging, but like
We're buying from the
seasonal.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
but foraging is a little bit different, so that's why I want to touch about it. Like, personally, I think foraging is a little bit too extreme. Like, as a restaurant owner, I think investing time and energy to forage ingredients is a little bit too much. Like, if I'm home cook, maybe, but if I have to make a lot of food to serve more than hundreds, I don't think it makes sense. But you might have different ideas, so
I mean, if you like know of a place that has like shallots or something like that that like grow naturally, I feel like that's fine and you can get a big quantity very easily. But like going out and trying to pick berries or something, I feel like it's gonna be, if it's readily available and you can have some like, and you have the money to hire someone to go out and get it, as a business owner, I feel like it could be good.
okay.
And then it would increase like the limited menu that we have. So say we only have like 50 wild berry muffins that we make a day.
Mhm.
If we can easily get those berries and the product is selling well, I feel like it's definitely, that could be a plus.
I see that.
But then again, if it's hard to find, you're spending a lot of time and money looking for something that's
Okay.
not necessarily going to be too impactful on the business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think the value is worth it. Foraging, it seems like a lot more effort than it will be able to provide.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's that important. I think it's pretty trivial and like
Yes.
so.
I feel like if you do it seasonally,
Seasonally?
it could be a beneficial.
Okay.
Just publicity and stuff like that
Okay.
too, because
Yeah, I think it's quite debatable. So
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, we already touched on number 31. while we're talking about supporting local farms. So we can.
All for it.
1 second, I got a call. I'm gonna mute real quick.
Okay. Okay.
Wrong button.
Okay. So should we just move on without Logan, or
Yeah.
okay?
We can keep going.
So we'll touch. Well, touch is not really the right word. That's okay. We'll talk about number 33, using products with Energy Star Service mark. So, do you know what Energy Star Service mark is?
Not really.
So it's a mark that's given to a electric products that's energy efficient. So I would say if you're using that, you're definitely saving our money on using less electricity, but also like saving energy as overall.
Yeah. So this goes back to like the concepts we were talking about earlier. The one where like it may seem more expensive at or the one we were talking about with fair trade, right?
Yeah,
I forget the name of it.
the true cost accounting.
Yeah, true costs.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like this or the true cost principle applies to this.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, Logan. So we're talking about number 33. So if
32?
33.
Wait,
33,
33?
yes.
Yeah. 30.
So if you have any opinion on it,
I don't know what an Energy Star Service
it's
mark
a mark
is.
that's given to a electric products that's energy efficient.
I feel like it could be important.
Mhm.
I feel like you don't need it on everything,
Okay.
but definitely having some of it is good.
Okay, and Catholi was actually talking about a true cost accounting about this matter. So if you mind continuing it.
Wait, what?
So we were talking about how like this apply like the true cost principle applies to this, where like it might seem more expensive, but in the end,
Oh,
it'll turn
yeah.
out to be less.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely worth investing in the forefront to save, because then you're saving your energy bill later on too. So it's going to pay for itself.
Okay. Okay, number 34 is use minimal factory produced products and make more of a house-made ingredients and sauce. So what we're talking about is, let's say we are not gonna buy a packaged mustard or ketchup, and we'll try to make some kind of house-made sauce and what we can make. So I think it's gonna take a lot more effort and could possibly even cost more money, but it's definitely less. We're definitely using reducing the waste because no packaging or less packaging, and I think it definitely brings up the quality of the food. So, what's your opinion?
I agree
Okay.
on the minimum packaging and whatnot.
Mhm.
One, less waste.
Yeah,
of
it's
course.
less waste.
Right. That's no-brainer,
No-brainer.
like you said. That's what we want.
Well,
Yeah, it goes with our motto of the planet.
right.
So,
But I think the point here is, when we're making house-made sauce, we're putting a lot of effort. It's not going to be easily done. So, do we weigh more on reducing the waste or more on having a easier business? Because this is like probably one of the most challenging thing. Like making coffee, making sandwiches. It's going to be somewhat challenging, but it's not going to be hard. But making everything else from the scratch in the house, that's a whole different story. So I think the question should be, is it worth doing it?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. I'm a very big fan of work harder or work smarter, not harder. Sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
And I can definitely see how it can be a lot more beneficial just from an energy and work standpoint to buy the product from a manufacturer.
Right.
But
Yeah,
like,
'cause-
I do think it adds a little bit of like a flair to the restaurant. I think it tastes better if you were to make it in house.
Yeah,
So
I feel like
I really do think that the benefits of making it in house outweigh.
Okay.
yeah, I definitely feel like you need like at least one sauce if we're going down that part. That's like the house sauce.
Right.
So if you make one sauce type thing in house, but then you get like your ketchup, your mayo, or something else from like outside sources, I feel like that's 100% fine.
Right. Okay. So, number 35, 36, 37, 38, those four, we'll look all of them together because these four, I think I can say these are small things we can care about, but not really impactful enough to change a lot. So, 35, reuse our food waste to feed pigs. That's quite typical. 36, not using tea bags for any tea. 37, use solar panels if possible because some it some situations it might not be. And
It depends on where this business is too. If it's in a place where it's cloudy and it rains a lot,
mhm,
getting the solar panels is going to be a waste of money
right.
because we're not going to get the energy needed to outweigh the price of the solar panels.
And number 38 is not using bleached sugar. So while we talk about this, I also want to talk about greenwashing. It's a concept of saying some company greenwash their business or product, saying it they make it look really really like sustainable, like good for community and everything. But if you go deep inside, it's not really that much. They have sugar coated their business with marketing, and I think these small things are very easy to manipulate to like greenwash the business. So I think it's a topic to talk about. Like small things, is it really matter, or is it just a
Yeah,
marketing business?
I mean, even with like tea bags, like it's just tea bags make it so much easier to make a large quantity of tea,
Right.
which and you can get like the bags can be biodegradable, so it's not like we're causing too much
Of
waste.
course.
So
Mhm.
I feel like tea bags is kind of trivial. We can use tea bags. And then for feeding pigs, like why not?
Yeah.
Just because pigs can eat spoiled food, so it's like if we have food that the food bank doesn't want, might as well give it to farms and stuff instead of just throwing out into
Mhm.
waste.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't think it's effective
Right.
to do really any of it. Because, like, if you look at it, how are you gonna, like, we're not raising our own pigs, right? So, like,
I guess, yeah.
So
realistically, how are you gonna transfer or
Yeah, it would be
your extra food product?
right.
It's gonna be difficult.
unless you have them come and pick it up and they would pay you for the food,
Right.
but
Yeah. And then, like, the teabag thing, how, realistically, how much waste is it gonna provide? I don't know. Not a lot.
no one likes grainy tea.
Right. So I really do
Correct.
agree with you guys. Like, being sustainable is quite important, but I think it's really easy to like do small things and make it look big just for a marketing purpose. So I think it's quite sensitive matter.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a benefit.
Mhm.
Like if we give our food waste to pigs,
Yeah,
it's good marketing.
right,
But does that marketing outweigh the cost of transporting the food?
right.
That's what it really comes down to.
And does it really have any kind of effect that's not
Yeah.
marketing? Like, are we just marketing ourselves, or are we actually participating in
Help.
sustainable actions?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
And
yeah,
like
go ahead.
for the solar panels and
Mhm.
stuff, solar panels are super expensive. So what is the value really?
And
I don't see
and
it.
it's also
Yeah, maybe-
very hard to produce energy from solar panels.
Yeah. Maybe
Correct.
down the line when they become cheaper and more efficient, I could see using them. But right now, we're just not in the state of having solar panels be useful
Right.
for the price.
Okay, so that concludes our list, and we have a little more to do, so keep it up. If you have to have a smoke break or get a coffee, just tell me too.
I have a movie to go to. Is now a good time to dip out?
How long
Or
can you wait?
my movie is at 12 and it's a 15-minute drive.
Okay, I recommend you going out right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I am sorry that I
Yeah,
have
it's
to
fine.
leave. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, Logan. It was a pleasure talking with you.
I thoroughly enjoy this. If you ever need it again, I will be here. And goodbye.
Yeah, good night, Logan. Okay, now it's just two of us. So,
Woo!
the next activity will be comparing two milks. One from Nielsen is one of the biggest milk producing company in Canada and America. And other one is a small farm called Sheldon Creek that's local to Ontario, and it's quite different. So introducing Sheldon Creek farm, they're a family-owned farm, and they care a lot of on their cows. So one very interesting thing they said is they don't get the organic sign because they want to use antibiotic when their cow gets sick, because if they see their cow sick, they want to make sure that they don't suffer. So they do give them antibiotic, but they don't collect any milk or meat from that cow. So I would say it's semi-organic, but it's not officially organic. So price-wise, Nielsen milk and Sheldon Creek milk, both 1 liter bottle. Nielsen milk costs about $3 Canadian, and Sheldon Creek costs about $7, which is more than double. Nielsen milk comes with a paper storage, and Sheldon Creek, they have their milk in a glass bottle. I would say the biggest difference between them is Nielsen milk is very easy to buy. It's everywhere in every grocery store. But Sheldon Creek, it's not really distributed to all the stores, so it's definitely not have the same accessibility compared to the Nielsen milk. So that's their just basic background information, and we can have a short discussion of, as a person, just person in a home, and other perspective of a restaurant owner, which milk would you buy?
That is a very hard decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to think, do I think about locally sourced good product, or do I think about cost?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention one thing. Sheldon Creek milk sells a type of milk that's called A2 milk. Do you have any knowledge on that?
I do not.
So A2 milk has a different type of protein in the milk, which is the usual type would be A1. So A2 milk prevent all those digestive problems that could happen if you drink the milk. So they advertise it as a better solution and choices who's not really fit for the milk.
Interesting.
Mhm. So let's say you're just student as you are, Kasoli, and you have to wake up one day and you have to buy a milk, 1 liter milk. What would you choose?
Ooh, that is hard. Personally, for me, I always like the better product.
Okay.
And I would 100% be a fan of the product that treats me better. But at the same time, I am also a college student,
Right.
and I also know the struggle of money.
Right.
So I know how difficult it can be to not have like money and be able to buy the good product.
Right. Like $7 for a liter of milk might look a little bit
Is
extreme,
very
yes.
expensive. And realistically, if you're going through, I would run through a liter of milk 2 or 3 times a week,
Right.
just because I drink milk a lot.
So the difference between the Nielsen and Sheldon Creek would be about like $12 or $13 per week, which is pretty big for to invest on the
It
milk.
is quite substantial. Yes.
So you're saying that you might lean toward to the Nielsen, which is more affordable and, like we said, more fit into the food security.
Correct.
Right.
Especially for a business, and a business like a coffee shop that goes through a lot of milk.
Right.
I believe it's better for the business because it will reduce the cost. And realistically, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Are you going to be able to taste a difference between the two products?
So I totally understand and agree with your idea, but I just also want to give like a counter logic of, I mean, you're right, but I would say if people have a luxury to share, like if they have enough money, if we're not a college student, I would say it's also worth buying a local farm dairy that also have, like they're trying to revolutionize the milk. So I think supporting them is a valid choice if you have the luxury to do it.
Excuse me. Yeah, and of course, there will always be a market for higher end products, right? So I understand the higher end product for sure.
Okay, so that concludes our activities. So it's time for us to just recap what we talked, say like share our experiences, and just end the podcast. So what do you think? What did you learn anything, or was it interesting, quite important, like informative to you? Like, what do you think?
I do think it was informative. I had a good time, and I learned a lot of good stuff about like food security and stuff that I wouldn't have considered in previous conversations. And
Right.
I think it was a good conversation about how you can run a sustainable business while positively affecting community and global economics, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I just have one last questions to conclude all of our conversation. What do you think is the best way for people to realize the importance of sustainability?
I would say firsthand experience would probably be the best way.
Mhm.
I don't know in what context that could be. That could be in any context, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but
First and
definitely,
experience.
yeah, going out and experiencing it for yourself
Yeah.
was definitely the best way to learn about
I
it.
think it's very important for people to realize like what's going on our planet. If like there's a lot of problems that's really like important, and people
Yes,
don't realize it because they don't see it. But if they see what's going on and see there's
yeah.
a solution for
I would
it,
say just like going to a food bank,
Yeah.
volunteering, or something along those lines.
But-
Definitely,
I totally agree with you. Okay, so
definitely,
Yeah, go ahead.
mind or eye opening.
Yeah, eye opening. Yes. Okay, I think that concludes our podcast today. Thanks for joining us, Gasoli. It was very.
Of course.
It
Thank
was
you for
my
having me. It
pleasure
was a
to
pleasure.
talking with you. Yes. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys, and have a good night.